Welcome to Push to Pass podcast with JP Murray, a discussion about business, racing, sports, and life. This podcast delivers insights on what makes businesses, teams, and people successful based on real-life business experiences. Following a career with America's largest associations, JP Murray founded the Murray Company, one of Washington, D.C.'s most successful consulting firms. The company was acquired successfully and enabled him to launch JP Murray Racing, a business development and sponsorship agency for auto racing teams. Here is JP.
What's up, everybody? It's JP Murray. Welcome back to the Push to Pass podcast. Folks, I'm sorry I've been away for a couple weeks. Man, when we've got these IndyCar races dropping week to week to week, it's hard to get time to do the podcast and kind of squared away where I can give you some good quality audio. But today I'm back and I want to share something kind of personal, the real lessons I learned when I sold my business growth firm, the Murray Company, which was focused on association, Washington, D.C. development and sales more than 3 years ago, and decided to jump into motorsport sponsorship. So this isn't theory. This is actually what happened when someone with decades of experience in one field tried to convert those and crack a completely new industry. And here's a spoiler alert. It's harder than I thought it would be, but no one died from the process. So let's talk about the big transition decision. Here's the setup. I sold the Murray Company, wanted to start fresh in motorsports by selling racing sponsorship, and I had a real passion for the sport, a little bit of an entree because I was for some time sponsoring IndyCar teams with the Murray Company. So I started to learn the space, started to build my network of people that I knew in the industry. So I didn't start completely cold, but I took the assumption that, hey, growth, sales, business development fundamentals are the same across a number of different industries. How different could it be? Lesson number one is this: it takes longer and is more expensive and harder to make money when you transition from one sector to another, even when many of the tactics and practices are similar. Now, I bootstrapped the effort. I didn't spend a lot of money other than travel expenses, a CRM to track what I was doing, podcast tools, etc. My entry cost was very, very low, but the revenue wasn't coming in very quick either. I also made the decision to hire no staff. That was intentional. I needed headspace, which was really important for me to learn, to hone my work, to change, to get the offer right, and kind of do that as a solo operator. And I'm still fine with that. What I did learn, the cadence in every business sector is different. The knowledge required is a little bit deeper than you think, and patience becomes your best friend. And there were times where I didn't feel like I was generating enough revenue based on the work that I was putting in. So I really started to question myself. And I thought I could leverage everything I knew and hit the ground running faster than what really happened. One thing that was encouraging, that motorsports was a fairly transient sport. And people come and go a lot. Sponsors, people that sell sponsorships, teams. So there aren't a lot of entrenched leaders or an old boys club that prevents you legitimate entry. So that was an upside. But overall, takes longer, takes more money, and the revenue generation will be slower than you want. Lesson number two, the network that you build is your net worth in every industry. Building your professional network in a new space will mirror your growth. The growth will accelerate by the number of people you get to know in the industry and the more you learn from them in that process. Now, we have LinkedIn tools and other social networks that make it easier to connect with people. And that is a big advantage. But here's the thing. Sometimes I believe we take professional engagement in our sector a little bit for granted. So I want to encourage you to participate in groups like Motorsports Professionals on LinkedIn attend the major trade show, engage with salespeople on other teams or with other companies. They'll be shocked that you're actually interested in them and want to help. You can't just show up and expect people to know about your past successes, who you are, and what you bring to the table. You've got to build that with a new network all over again. Lesson number 3, the 24-month breakthrough rule. You will have doubt during this process, and it's guaranteed, but if you attack it like your previous success, you got to bring the same intensity and discipline. When you were climbing, you're going to break through in about 24 months. The best always have the most effective reps. Most people can be outworked in any space. This timeline really kind of held true for me. In 2 years, I'm now selling for the most promising teams out there that I want to sell for. So there are things that change or unanticipated when you make the transition, but there are things that don't change, tactics that are fairly consistent. And I want to talk about that a little bit. If you don't contact prospects, your sales evaporate. Now, currently I make about 500 contacts a month. You might make more, you might make less. The key point is there's a number for your success, and you got to do the math. I cluster my actions: sales contacts, content development, strategy, and participating, so I can consolidate my action. I track every activity, I monitor the results, and I see what sales are coming from that activity. So I can tell you this: the more swings I take, the luckier I get. And in 4 decades, that has never changed. Some other things that I know but don't always do. At this point in the transition, I know kind of what I've got to do to get things done. The question is whether you're willing to do them consistently, because the very best in your space do. First, I need to listen more than I talk. There is scientific proof that the best salespeople don't talk as much as the prospect. It's about a 2x ratio. When you talk too much, you're being grilled and you're being asked questions. You're not leading the conversation. And the second thing, I have scripts, but I don't use them every time. Here's the thing about talking points and scripts: when you know them by heart, they actually help you listen better, because you're not thinking about what to say next. And then third thing that I don't do as much as I want, I don't ask prospects for referrals as often as I ought to. Something as simple as, "Man, thanks for the conversation today. You're a fantastic executive. Which companies and who do you think I should talk with?" Those are simple things. I know them, but I don't execute them every time, and that's on me. In the reality of excellence and getting really good at something, there's a gap between knowing and doing. And that's where most people live. The best performers minimize the gap, and they do the things they know work consistently, even when they don't feel like it, realizing that it's going to take more time than they want, and understanding that every industry sector has a cadence. Remember, the more swings you take, the luckier you get. And we can't wait to talk with you next week on the Push to Pass podcast with JP Murray. So long, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the Push to Pass podcast with JP Murray, a discussion about business, racing, sports, and life. If you would like to sponsor Push to Pass, send an email to jp@jpmurray.com. Follow JP on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. His website is jpmurray.com. Until next time, push yourself to pass the competition. Thanks for listening.